ISIS hostage drama. Russian forces kill 6 terrorists. In a dramatic turn of events in Rostov-on-Don, Russia, 6 inmates suspected of Islamic State affiliation staged a daring prison break, taking 2 officers hostage at Detention Center 1. The situation quickly escalated as Russian special forces intervened, resulting in a deadly confrontation. The prisoners were from Ingushtiana. I don't know how to say it right. I'm sorry. A Muslim majority Russian republic in the Caucasus region. 3 of them had been convicted in December for planning an Islamic State attack on the Supreme Court of Kharkov Chercheskia. Sorry. Well, the others were facing pending terrorism charges. The escape began when 3 of the men broke their cell window bars and climbed down several floors using a rope. They then seized a knife, a fire axe, and other sharp objects to take control of the prison's duty station. Footage circulated on Telegram showed a hostage taker wearing an IS flag headband, brandishing a knife next to the handcuffed officer. Another clip revealed a wounded Russian lieutenant colonel also in handcuffs. The inmates demanded a getaway car and access to the jail's armory. After initial negotiations failed, Russian special forces stormed the prison. The Federal Penitentiary Service reported, quote, the criminals were eliminated and confirmed that the hostages were free unharmed. This incident, occurring near the border with Russian occupied Ukrainian territories, highlights the ongoing threat of Islamic State linked terrorism in Russia, especially in light of the recent deadly attack on Moscow's Crocus City Hall that killed 145 people, and underscores the challenges faced by Russian authorities in managing high risk prisoners. So I heard about this story, and this just seemed wild to me. And I don't know. I'm going to say something that's going to make Armin mad.
No, tell me.
Okay. This was my reaction to the terrorist attack on the Crocus City Hall concert that happened, where I'm like, let's just say it this way. Russian forces are not known for having any form of mercy.
Right.
And I'm like, good. I don't care. I don't care. I know what Armin is going to say. Armin is going to say. This is my emotional reaction. Our morals are higher.
No, like, what do you mean?
Whatever.
What kind of mercy? What kind of mercy? Like, obviously, they should neutralize the threat.
Obviously,
Like, what
neutralize
kind of?
the threat. Okay, but with the terrorists that are accused of carrying out the Crocus concert terrorist attack, I mean, they
Right.
literally sliced off one dude's ear and fed it to him and posted the video online. Like,
Right. So you're
straight up
talking about
barbaric.
you're
But I'm
talking
like,
about
if you want to be ISIS and behave barbarically, get treated barbarically. Does anyone have any delusions about what happens when you cross the Russians? They're merciless. Like, Fafo. Like, I don't care. Like,
right. I mean, it's one. I don't blame anybody for having a personal satisfaction for seeing evil people get what they think they deserve. Right. We're human. When we get angry for people doing horrible things to other human beings, if they suffer, sometimes we can't help it but to feel satisfied knowing that they got what they deserve. Nobody, I don't think like that is a human experience, that if you're experiencing that, I'm not going to guilt anybody for experiencing that, right? But when it comes to the systems and methodology that works, we have determined that these things do not, these, like, in liberal countries we have higher standards, and these higher standards work. If somebody is a threat, you neutralize the threat, but when you have somebody arrested, you do not do cruel and unusual punishments. And this is the standard of liberal countries, and liberal countries have shown that their methodology and their systems are more effective by being better countries, right? I mean, look at Russia when it comes to power, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to standard of living, compared to United States, Canada, and Western European countries, and Japan and South Korea. Obviously, the systems that we have in place in these liberal countries are superior, right? And again, these are not a contradiction. You could take personal pleasure in seeing that evil people are getting what they deserve, but when it comes to the systems that we put in place to run a country, we do not use our personal emotions to decide what works best. We use data and evidence, and data and evidence show that, you know, these standards just don't work. We do not torture. We should not be using cruel and unusual punishment, and there should be systems of laws and rights in place where we again, I don't want to sound weak and pathetic and sympathetic to terrorists, but these things might sound weak, might make you sound pathetic, but there's one thing to act alpha, to pretend that you're strong by doing certain things, but those are just pretending it. But there are methodologies that actually make you strong, right? There's one country like Russia could come and like, oh, look at us, we're like, yeah, we're so tough, we're so manly, we're so strong, we crush our enemies. And there are other countries that are actually effectively build their countries based on foundations that are make them strong. They don't have to act tough because they are actually stronger, right? So Russia might look stronger, but compare Russia to other countries. Russia is not even as strong as Spain, let alone the rest of the Western European countries and North American countries, right? So yeah, to me, it's the difference between acting tough and actually being tough.
That's a good point. I just like, oh my god, you know what? Here's a funny thing. And I fuck it. I'm gonna call it funny. I don't care. So in the video that they posted of them holding the guards hostage, they're threatening and talking all big, whatever. We're so big and tough, blah 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 blah. ISIS, blah blah. Okay. According here, I will read some of the things that they reported that they said in the video, according to the translations that I have read. Quote, we have set conditions by the grace of Allah so that they will give us a car. So the idea is that they're holding these guards hostage, and that they're holding them hostage until they are delivered a car, and they're also like given guns, and then we'll like let everyone go, essentially, if you let us break free from the jail, right? We Okay, let me continue with some of the other statements. We ask Allah that we will not be captured alive by them. In another video, the kidnapper said this group was prepared by Allah Almighty Himself and by His signs. It was not done all spontaneously. It was not done all for nothing. We gave these infidels conditions that they will give us a car and we leave. We will see what happens next. We ask Allah that we may not be captured alive by them so that Allah will accept us. Well, the Russian forces gave them their gift. They gave them their present. So it's not all bad.
May I add something? Having terrorists that do a brutal thing to your citizens and then you catching them after they do the act and then you torturing them is pretending to be strong, right? Canada, which is like, this weak, LGBT friendly, liberal, woke country that you want to make fun of, you know what is actually strong? Canada catching the terrorists before they do the attack. Because Canada has a record. I'm not even going to go to the US, which is obviously so much more superior in strength. But this Canada who's like, oh, Russia strong, Canada weak and pathetic, right? Do you know how many of these attacks were neutralized in Canada before they happened? That is strength. This is actually, you torturing these terrorists is actually an inferiority complex. You didn't stop the attack. You didn't protect your citizens. Your citizens are dead. Now you're making up for it by showing strength by torturing these people. Strength is Canada stopping the attack before it happens and protecting its citizens.
Because before that advanced attack that happened at the concert hall, they had received advanced warning from U.S. intelligence services. The US
Yes, I
intelligence
was going to
service,
get to that.
despite everything
I
that's
was
going
going to
on
get to that.
politically, is like,
No,
"Hey, we think that ISIS is gonna, like, do something and kill a lot of people in your
uh,
country, and I know we're, like, having a lot of geopolitical tension, to say the least, but, we thought we should warn you guys," and they're like, "No,
yes,
you're
I was
it's a
going to get.
PSYOP."
I was going to get to that because a lot of people in the chat were also pointing that out. But I wanted to I wanted to humiliate the Russian government by not comparing them to America. I wanted to compare them to Canada first, because it's obvious that you're nothing compared to the United States. But that's easy. That's overkill. Comparing Russia to United States is overkill. I wanted to compare them to a much weaker country compared to the US and show them how inferior they are, not to United States, but to Canada.
How are you
You're
gonna shit
nothing
on your own
even compared
country
to.
like that?
No, Canada is much weaker compared to the United States. That's
No, I
obviously
know, it's just the
reality.
way you
But
phrased it, you're like, it's one thing to be humiliated by being compared to the US, but comparison
yes,
to Canada and falling
to
short,
Canada.
now that is
Yeah.
humiliation. Is that
No,
my
yep.
passport? Maybe.
No, because they like to make fun of Canada as this like LGBT, very gay, pathetically weak
Limp-wristed.
country. But I'm saying, yes, yes. I just want to say you're beaten by Canada. But again, like going to now that we showed them how weaker they are compared to Canada, let's go to the US, okay? Because the United States not only is so much more superior to you in strength and intelligence, that it has gone beyond defending its own citizens from threats from terrorists, right? United States has enough intelligence and power to worry about your citizens, you ungrateful piece of crap that didn't take them seriously. And this is now and again, these are the enemies of United States. Look at the superiority of United States, okay? So while we're wondering if human rights and caring for human lives is actually make you strong, or is this human right not stuff just weak country talk, United States has gone to the point where they have the policy that if they know that there's a terrorist attack happening in a country, they have to warn the officials even if it's an enemy country. In this year, they warned both Russian officials and the Islamic Republic of Iran of an ISIS attack in their country. Both countries that are hostile to the United States. Russia is hostile to the United States. The Islamic Republic of Iran is hostile to the United States. And the United States has put that hostility aside when their superior intelligence, obviously superior to the Islamic Republic, but superior to the Russians itself, figured out the intelligence that the Russians themselves and the Iranian government themselves couldn't figure out to protect their own citizens. The United States said, here, let me do your job for you. You obviously have weak intelligence. I will tell you that there is going to be a terrorist attack, and they gave you the exact location. Both. United States has such higher moral ground that it's like, you are my enemy, but these are citizens, and we have the responsibility to warn you of a terrorist attack. They told the Russian government and they told the Islamic Republic. And in both cases, they dismissed the warnings. Obviously, the American government cares about your citizens more than you do. The Russian government dismissed it. The Iranian government dismissed it as well. In fact, the United States government was shocked that the terrorist attack happened in Iran, because they gave them such detailed explanation of where and when it's going to be happening, and it still happened. They didn't do anything to stop it.
Against regime supporters, I might add. Some of the deepest
Yes.
regime supporters.
Yeah, human rights actually makes you strong. When you have such a powerful force to defend your citizens this way, and you have these principles, because here's the thing, if you have the power to be evil and then you're not evil, that is strength, because you can do evil
Facts.
and you choose not to. That is
Facts.
demonstration of strength.
Yep. And it's easy. It's so interesting, Armin, that when you put things in those terms, the false moral equivalence becomes so obvious. So obvious. Um we got a few super chats. John gave several. Thank you, John. Saying Naji al-Jarif was murdered by ISIS. It's rough on Syrians. There are many secularists, but Islamists imprison many of them on trumped up charges. Yeah, as is their prerogative. And thank you for mentioning this activist. I haven't heard of him before, and I was looking up some stuff about him, and very interesting. And I think I want to learn more. John also said, oh, this is exactly what Armin was just talking about, saying we, the US, warned Russia and the government dismissed us. Also sending love to Armin. John was having a fangirl moment for you in the live chat.
Thank you.
Armin, go off. Yes, here we go. Go off, Armin. I love it. And then speaking on your last point, Prince Stephen II is celebrating his membership. Thank you for being a member of Satan's Minions, Prince Stephen, Your Majesty, saying all hail the CIA. And this we got a super chat, and this is going back to our segment about Mecca, specifically Armin having much to say about the Big Ben clock tower, the Mecca clock tower, excuse me. Saying they also didn't find any archaeological evidence to back up the age of Mecca, the saints buried, etc., when they laid the foundations for the clock complex. Armin, wait, can you respond to this and dig into this while I quickly go to the bathroom?
Yes. Okay. So, guys, when you have an ancient city and that had a history, okay, what happens? Hey, there we go. What happens when you have an ancient city? When there has been commerce and trade and wars, right? Things get left behind. There's plates, there's arrows, there's swords, there's building material, there's farming materials. It is impossible for you to have a city that is the center of trade and commerce and a trading route without leaving evidence behind. There is no way for you to have a historic war, for example, happening in a place. And then when archaeologists come and dig that area, for them not to find arrows and stuff like that. Like they back then, when people had wars and commerce, they didn't have a cleanup crew that comes and makes sure that every single piece of evidence is removed, right? So for example, Jerusalem, right? When we have construction in Jerusalem, you have experts, you have archaeologists coming in, and because they know when they dig, they know for a fact that when they dig anywhere in Jerusalem, there's going to be historically significant pieces that they're going to find, and they have a lot of historical value. So it's very important when it comes to a city that has an ancient history, that every time there's a building or anything that it needs to be built, when people are digging in down or anything else that they're doing, that there are people that are coming in and whatever precious material, historical significant material they find, to come and take it and put it in a museum and study it and all that, right? The claim is that Mecca is a historical city that was a center, that was a trading route, and it has a huge historical significance. There are many historians recently in recent history that are revisionists, and they are doubting this narrative, and they think that Mecca was not a significant city or not a city at all, and this is all a made-up lie by the Umayyad and the Abbasid dynasty, because they wanted to make sure that their center of their religion was not in Jerusalem, which belonged to the Jewish and Christians. They wanted to make sure that they have their own unique Arab identity, right? So thrown somewhere in the middle of the desert where nobody could go check if it's true or not, right? Because it's like the sands were like a white paper that they could write their made up ancient history on. They could write whatever on it, right? The sounds of Arabia, right? And this has been a huge source of speculation. There's a lot of evidence like written evidence, that Makkah might have been a made-up story, like Muhammad. Muhammad was probably a made-up character, based on a true figure, but most of it made up. and he wasn't whoever that character was actually whoever that character is made after was probably not even from Mecca. He was probably from somewhere much more norther than where Mecca is today, right? And this whole Mecca, this is not was not a historical city, and all of this, um, you know, these claims have become stronger and stronger in recent years. And one of the evidence that has made this claim a lot stronger is the fact that when they're building stuff in Mecca, every time they dig, they find nothing. They find nothing, and it's almost impossible for you to find nothing if this was supposed to be a trade, a major hub for trade and commerce, right? Like they are not finding the things that are supposed to find in anywhere else when they dig, when a city was supposed to be there, right? So they dig and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And this is to the point where Saudi government had even made it stopped people from coming and looking. When they dig, they just cement right over it without having people come check over, because they know how embarrassing this is. But again, this history, the fact that Mecca, the story of Muhammad and Mecca, is all made up, and Islam doesn't even have a prophet, and all of this is made up story, is something that is going to become more and more apparent. This is not even had mainstream knowledge yet. A lot of people who are against Islam think Muhammad was somebody evil. They don't know that the guy didn't even exist. So this is something that we can talk about more in this channel if
If
you guys
you thought the holes in the narrative was bad, wait, because for those who know, there was this big controversy that went around kind of Dawa circles, Islamic preacher circles, about a major American Islamic preacher. Messages were leaked where he is admitting that the standard narrative of the perfection of the Quran is false, that it is
Right.
not historically accurate. There's no veracity to this belief, which is believed to be one of the central and most important miracles of Islam, right? Is that the perfection and the oneness of the what's the word I'm looking for? The
Tawheed.
narration or the passage, preservation, the preservation of the Quran,
Preservation.
right? It's
Right.
all a lie. And this leak was huge in the English speaking, like, Muslim preaching community, and it was a huge drama, as this piece of knowledge about the lack of historicity regarding this narrative of the preservation of the Quran has holes in it. It even became a meme, to the point that preachers like Hassan Tosh literally carries around a Quran with a hole in it to symbolize, like, this narrative has holes in it, right? And that was a bombshell. So imagine how big the bombshell is going to be when what Armin is talking about begins to be hinted at more, talked about more. Because Yasser Qadi, who was the preacher who this drama was surrounding, he was talking about how, honestly, we need to be kind of talking to Muslims a little bit about this knowledge that we have, because right now we don't have an answer to it, and they can find out, and it's going to cause huge problems among believers. So we need to actually be addressing this issue of this bad narrative, right? But what Armin is talking about is an aspect of narrative that no one is, like, really addressing yet. Um yeah. The clericals.
Um,
Wait a second.
yeah,
Pause.
if you guys are interested in learning about why the whole narrative of Muhammad being real is false, I mean, when I say real, means there was one guy that did unite the Arabs. His name was not Muhammad, and
Yeah.
Muhammad's stories were added upon this guy. But if you want to know more details about this, a book that I recommend that summarizes all of this is called "Did Muhammad Exist" by Robert Spencer. So go check that out. It's a pretty good book. But we didn't even read the super chat. So do you want to read the super
You
chat?
had criticisms of Robert Spencer's book, though. We did read
No,
all
I didn't have criticism. Not no. I mean, I haven't read this one yet.
Oh.
But I didn't have criticism of this book. I had criticisms of Robert Spencer, but not
Sure.
this book. This book is fantastic.
Yeah.
This
No,
book is good.
yeah.
It's good.
Cool. So should we go to the
Wait, let me
next
read the super
story?
chat. So
No,
they,
we just
so
did.
we did, we did. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's what I went to go to the bathroom.
Okay, okay, okay.
um,
Oh, somebody's
and
good. So
we can cap.
Khadija is saying, I will read that for sure. I'm so intrigued. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Yeah.
What was
Okay.
that book that I got you as a present? The
This one.
by Sean. What's his name? No.
Oh, that one. The other one.
No, that Indian mythology one is one given to us by our sexy Cali lawyer that I then gave to you because you wanted it. So that was technically a present for me. There we go.
Right.
Yeah. We should sometimes do book recommendations because I was nerding out with Armin about a book that I'm reading right now. Yeah. About why the left became morally bankrupt in the 21st century.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.